Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In day-to-day programming, we always need to share some data between the components. So today we will understand some various ways of sharing data between the components. First, we will see the sharing data from parent to child component using input decorator. And then we will see sharing data from child to parent using output decorator. Then we will see sharing data between the components that has no parent-child relation. So I have this sample Angular app that has no module and have three standalone components: app component, parent component, and child component. Basically, we can create an Angular application without using modules. So if you want to understand more about standalone components, so I have a detailed video on this. You can find the link in description for the same. So this application is already running in browser. First, we will see how to send data from parent to child component. Means when we click on this send to child button, then textbox data should be displayed in child component as input. Okay, let's write some code. So I created this child input field with input decorator in child component and bind it in a template using string interpolation. And then in parent component, I created a field child input, and then in parent component I created a field child input to use it as a data source that we need to send to the child component, and set it in our child components tag using property binding, and then created a click event on button click on this button and set our textbox value in child input field here. Okay, so let's see it in browser if it is working or not. So we'll pass some sample data. It is our parent and send to child. Yeah, so the output is coming here, means our data is sharing from parent to child. Now let's see how we can send data from child to parent component. So in our application, when we click on this send to parent button, then child component's text box value should display in parent component as output. Okay, let's write some code. So I created child output field in parent component to store child's output value and bind it in template using string interpolation here. And then in child component, created a field child output with output decorator that type is event emitter, and created a click event on button click, and call emit method of event emitter field with text box value, and set this button click event here. And in parent component, created one method on child output and set it in our child components tag using event binding, just like this. And in this method, just set the on child outputs response to child output field. Okay, let's see it in browser if it is working or not. So we pass some test data here to parent. We'll click on it. Yes, it's working as expected, and child data is sharing in parent component. Now let's see how we can send data from the component that has no parent-child relation. So in our application, when we click on this send to child button, this button, then child component's textbox value should display in app component as output here. As there is no relation between app component and child component, so we cannot use both ways that we discussed for the data sharing. So for this, we will use a service, and a common service is already created in our application, so we can use it to do our task. So let's write some code. So I created a behavior subject in common service, and we will use it to share data, and created a method that will take any input to send, and each subscriber of this common message will get this input data. And in app component, we subscribe the common message field of common service and store the value in child output field. And in child component, just call the send data method of common service on button click event. Okay, let's see it in browser if it is working or not. So we'll pass some data here to app. Yeah, so data is sending from this child to this parent one and this app component. So to this parent component, we are getting this data using output decorator, and to this app component, we are getting it from common service. So it's working as expected, and this is how we can share data between the components that has no relationship. Please like this video and share it with your friends, and please subscribe the channel to watch similar kind of videos.